Hello and welcome. Thanks for tuning into the channel. Um, yeah, today I want to try something new, and I'm going to do a bit of a live coding session. And what we're going to do today is so I've played with the software called Cloudron for quite a while. And Cloudron is, so I see it as a bit of an app platform. You have a server, you install Cloudron on it, and Cloudron brings you an app center from where you can then quite easily install pre-packaged apps. And the nice thing here about Cloudron is that it centralizes user management, it centralizes SSL certificate generation for those apps, and it also centralizes backups. And this makes it quite convenient and very, very easy to handle for even non-technical people. And even if you have an app or you want to run an app that's not yet packaged for Cloudrun, it's relatively easy. So I would not say it's totally easy, but it's relatively easy to create your own apps to benefit from the automatic SSL and to benefit from the automatic backup. And so this is kind of a live coding session, so I have not prepared much, but I will just, I've picked an app that I wanted to package up, and I will basically package the app, create the app, and while doing so, I will a bit talk to myself, explain what I'm doing, and and basically go from there. The one thing that I've already prepared is that I have created a small text file with some links, and I will use the same text file during the live stream to add additional insights, additional resources that may be interesting or worth revisiting, maybe some to-dos for later on. The one thing that I've already pre-created before is that I already created a Git repository for the app. And these links you can, by the way, find in the description below. So there is a text file to exactly what I'm showing you at the moment, and from where you can get to the additional resources. So step number one is the Git repository. So in the Cloudron Git server, so git.cloudron.io, you can find already a repository for this Matterbridge app. It doesn't have anything else beside the license file and the README so far. But while you're already there and you're interested in packaging up, you will find a lot of other projects here as well. So it's if you're stuck or looking for some inspiration, it's always nice to browse here and find some inspiration and seeing how others did a specific thing in an app. And while I'm creating this app, I will hopefully remember to commit my changes often, so you can live follow this Git repository and pull in the changes as well. I also have a window open with the chat, so if you have any questions in between, don't hesitate to pop that into the chat. There's a bit of a delay, it's a 5 seconds delay, so it will take some time for me to see and respond. It will not be a real-time conversation. And there are some other resources that I've already included in this README. So there's an official example app, a small tutorial on the Cloudron website, the packaging tutorial, which shows you what you basically need and lists the steps. I will not go through it. But what's equally interesting is that before you actually can start creating an app, you need the Cloudron CLI. So I've already installed this on my system. I'm running a standard Ubuntu box here, Ubuntu 16.04 still. And what else you need for creating an app on Cloudron is basically Docker. So if you're running, for example, on a Windows system, then it's probably the easiest to just spin up a virtual machine for your Ubuntu base, then install the Cloudron CLI application in that Ubuntu system as well as Docker. And then you can use, for example, Visual Studio Code to connect to this virtual machine and basically do the same as I'm doing here. So I will also be using Visual Studio Code, which is a nice editor, brings in a terminal, and yeah, some nice plugins and everything to to play around. Yeah. So there's a step-by-step guide. There are so-called add-ons inside of Cloudron that you can and that you should use. So the one specific thing inside an app of Cloudron or inside an app for Cloudron is that the apps that are running on Cloudron are mostly read-only. This is done to basically force app providers to just store data at very specific locations, which then in turn makes it easier for the app for the backup mechanics of Cloudron to work. And if you want to store persistent data, then you can do so using so-called add-ons. Like for example, if you want to use the LDAP user tree that Cloudron has internally, then you need to specify that you want to use LDAP inside of your app, and then it will be exposed to your app. The same for Redis and some other stuff. Like for example, if you want to send or receive emails, you can use the email add-on. The local storage to, that's kind of something that I think there are very, very few cases where you don't want to store data. But if you enable the local storage add-on, then you will have a writable data location @/app/data, and can use that to store any runtime data. And what we're going to package today is a small utility called Matterbridge. So there are basically two events that lead to this small live stream. The first was that there was the question on the Cloudron forum, hey, can anyone give me a show, a Jumpstart is willing to basically teach me how to create an app. And the other thing was that someone was asking, so there is on the Cloudron forum a section for an app wish list. And there was the question, hey, can someone create a Matterbridge app? So I'm seeing those two incidents, I thought, hey, let's combine that. So I created in the past already for the software, the server called Univention. I already created a Matterbridge app. And that was actually relatively easy back then, where I'm just reusing the official Docker container there for Matterbridge. And I'm just doing a bit of scripting for the integration inside of Univention. And so hopefully we're going to manage to do something similar today, where we just use the Matterbridge binary, do a very basic scripting around it, and to achieve this integration. But what is Matterbridge? You will maybe ask. Yeah, Matterbridge is an application. So the Matter in the name comes from Mattermost, which is the first chat platform that it's connected to, as far as I know. And it's a bridge in the sense of that it bridges multiple platforms. So it can basically bridge communication between Mattermost and Rocket Chat, for example, or all the other different providers listed here in the description. And so I'm going to try, since I have Rocket Chat running here on my own Cloudron installation, so I'm going to basically bridge two channels. That's the goal for this session here. I'm going to time box this whole thing, this whole video here to around 2 hours. Let's see how far we'll get. maybe we'll already done earlier. Maybe it takes some more time, then I will do that offline. Yeah, let's see where we go. Yeah, and on it goes. So let's open my editor. Yeah, so like I said, I have already created a Git repository here. That's the Git checkout. So far I've only created license file and a very basic README. It's actually the Git provider that created that for me, so I did not even create that on my own. And what I always find quite nice is, so the first thing that I'm going to create is a small makefile, and I need to copy that from another system since I don't have it here on this exact one. Does that work? Initial connection time. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to copy it over from the best example probably is the StatPing app. So I'm going to copy over this makefile. And with the makefile, I'm going to do a bit of an automation around it, so I don't have to remember all the different commands of the Cloudron CLI, and I don't have to repeat some stuff. And this is basically a very, very basic template that I'm going to modify for my local system now. So for the StatPing app, I was always installing application at status. So here I'm going to bridge, use the location bridge as the default. And my own user on the Docker Hub is called fbartels. So if you have a different user, then you could specify this here as well. And then I have basically a few, so in the makefile it's called a target, predefined. The first thing, and this is also what I will be running in a moment, is my init target, which will create the initial Docker file, and the Cloudron manifest as well. Then I have a target to build the app, and so it's basically Cloudron build if you would run it locally. And since I want to be specific here, so I'm also setting the exact location of the Git repository. I have a target called update, which always builds first. So if I just do make update, it will build the app locally, push it to the Docker Hub, and then update this app on the Cloudron system. If I haven't installed it before, I can also do install. I can uninstall the app, and I can install it in debug mode. The debug mode in Cloudron is relatively interesting because if you install an app, for any given app, there is a health check defined. And the app will actually only be clickable from the Cloudron UI once this health check has basically succeeded once. Which means if you have an application that exposes a web interface, you configure this web interface to be pinged with on a regular health check. And once that interface, once that app is listening, the health check turns green and you can actually open the app. But while you're developing something, that website, that web page may not be there. Or especially here in the case of Matterbridge, there may not be even a web interface at all. So that's also something that we have to further think about. And installing an app in debug mode basically means the app is installed, but the start script of that app is not yet executed. So you would then in that case and that's here the next target, you would exec into that app and execute the startup script yourself. And the last target here is logs, which basically just opens the log creation, the log file of said app. Yeah. Yeah, so the first next thing that we're doing is writing or calling make init. And there is also a Cloudron update. Maybe I should do that first. Let's update the Cloudron CLI. And yeah, I'm going to delete the files that the inits created. So that's hopefully, if I now do make init, exactly, it's created with the right base version. So let's do git status and add those files that we now have to it. For the manifest, the one thing, and that's what I'm using here in this make app as well. So I'm going to use the ID to name the Docker file, and ID is not in the file by default, so we're going to add it in here now. And the ID for my app is simply com github Matterbridge. And bridge is such a difficult word to write. I'm not sure. Maybe you also have this feeling. Yeah. Initial app data. Git push. And if you have the repository checked out on your own system, you can now pull in and you see exactly the same files as I'm seeing here. So what did the git init create apart from this manifest file? So we have a Docker file and Cloudron apps, so they don't technically have to, but it's I think it's a solid recommendation to do so, is that Cloudron apps should use the Cloudron base image. If all apps use the same image, that means this very large blob with all different services already pre-installed. So in the past there was Apache pre-installed there, there's Nginx installed there, there's npm, so you can run JavaScript applications. There were Ruby dependencies, there's a lot of Python dependencies already in there. So you have one relatively large base image, but since all the apps use the same base image, you have quite a lot of space benefits, because you just have this very large blob once and everything else builds upon this. And the other thing that's defined here is one expose argument, and that's basically what we also see here in the manifest. That's here in the empty template where we would expose our web interface. So whatever we run now, or whatever we plan to run, we could let it expose on port 3000. And in the manifest, we have defined that our application internally listens on port 3000, and then Cloudron will take care of making this port available to the outside, but not on port 3000, but will, like I already said earlier, Cloudron will do an automatic SSL for it, which means that the app will then be available on the app domain on port 443 with an SSL certificate for this specific app. And I created a Docker ignore file with some standard files. Nothing much to wonder about here. So we have our Docker file, and now we want to install Matterbridge on it. So let's see what Matterbridge project tells us in form of installation instructions. Installing, upgrading, there are binaries, latest version, To install upgrade, just download the latest binary and follow the instructions. So we want to have Linux 64 bits, 45 megabytes. That's quite a large application. And what we do here is basically just saying we want to run, and then we want to download this binary, and we want to store it at a given location, user local bin Matterbridge. And we want to make sure that the application is executable. User local bin Matterbridge. And just to make sure that it's then also running, normally those applications have some form of a version endpoint. Let's try to run Matterbridge version. So if we go now back to the terminal, we could now do a make build, which will then download Matterbridge, the official release. You could do some stuff like specifying this version with an environment variable, or even better, with a build argument. So far we just leave the hard-coded version and we'll clean it afterwards. So it's downloaded, and Matterbridge command not found. So what is the... So it's likely this one was, that is the issue, right? So just to make sure. So for whatever reason it did not execute. Let's download it to the local system as well. That seems strange. Make it executable. Okay, here it works. I did not mistype. In the past? No, let's look back. What exactly was the issue? Line command not found. Oh, is it stuff that you don't do all day? I think I've used the wrong flag. See, I used the small letter O, but I should have used the capital letter O. Let's do it again. Okay, now it works. So this is the output then of my Matterbridge version at the end of downloading it. And yeah, the Cloudron CLI automatically pushes the file to the Docker Hub as well. And so I specified that my app ID should be the name of the image, and Cloudron automatically tags it with the date string to make sure that the newest build is also the most recent one. But there are a few other things that are nice and should be done. So let's go back to the Git installation to copy over some stuff from another app of mine. So let's get back to the StatPing app. And so the other nice things that I think are always worth including is that you should not directly run your app inside of the start script, but yeah, to make it easier to restart your application in between, and also to make sure that to write it with the right user permission and everything, it's quite nice to use a supervisor, which is already installed in the base image but not fully configured, to put this into your app as well. So I'm just going to copy it over from my StatPing app. And since this one hardly ever changes, we'll write it above the file that is setting up the that is downloading the app. We'll give it an own name, supervisor Matterbridge, and then we also need to create this file. And the content of that app is relatively simple, because that's already here as well. So here we just then afterwards need to modify the command. It's then run as the user Cloudron, and it automatically starts and basically forwards all output to the standard output and standard error. User local bin Matterbridge. Yeah, and the other thing that we need is our start script. Where we basically can do a bit of a pre-setup of the application, where we can create some files in the data directory. So this is something that you could, for example, use to create some example configuration for your application, where you would, from the environment, read out your LDAP credentials, MySQL database credentials, and make sure to pass it onto the application that you actually want to run. And I'm going to also be a bit lazy and copy a bit of a skeleton for this from the StatPing app. Do I need to create a random password? I don't think so. So in the end, we want to make sure that everything is running with the right setup. Supervisor Matterbridge. Yeah. Yeah, let's have a look at the configuration of Matterbridge. So first step, they say, if I want to start, I should create an empty Matterbridge TOML file. Okay, that's fair enough, easy to do. So I'm here in my setup script. I'm doing a simple check. If it doesn't exist, app data Matterbridge, then let's be lazy again. Well, not that much more laziness in here. Then I'm going to create my app data. Matterbridge toml until end of file. But what should be in this Matterbridge toml? So choose the protocols you want to bridge below and copy paste those into your config file. So I'm going to set this up with Rocket Chat because that's what I've already running on my Cloudron. And then it basically says Rocket Chat, my Rocket Chat, the server URL, login pass of your bots. Login needs to be the login with email address. Use a dedicated user for this and not your own, required when not using webhooks. Prefix messages with nick. Okay, so I also need to create a bot user then, it seems, in my Cloudron. So my Rocket Chat is running a chat. And that also means that I need to go to its administration, users. So I want to create a new user. I'm going to name the user Matterbridge. And does this create a password? No, this doesn't create a password, so I need to create something. Let's just say, oh, that's not, also doesn't hide it. Strange UI. Just let's use something simple for now. I also mistyped Matterbridge again. It will be public anyway in this tutorial at least, so I will probably change the user afterwards. User created successfully and user not found at the same time, but if I reload that page, there is my Matterbridge user. Yeah, so basically I'll leave it like this here because I don't want to commit my own credentials in here, but I will need to change it afterwards. And like I said, so there are some paths where the Cloudron app is supposed to be able to write to. And to be able to actually create files in app data, we also need the local storage add-on, which is luckily the default. So are we missing something else? No, basically not. So let's add the files that we created. Scripts push. And another make builds. And then the next thing that we'll do is install the app in debug mode, simply because, yeah, so there is no web service at the moment, so the health check will never go green anyway. So let's install in debug mode first to see, yeah, how we can work with this app and how to expose it. There is maybe that's something configuring reverse proxy is taking a bit. There's maybe an HTTP health check, so that's something worthy of looking up at the same time. So there is at least a handler inside of the file. Oh, let's have a quick look how they do it in their own Docker image. That's also always helpful and interesting. So there's Docker arm, Docker file. That was what I was looking for. It doesn't have any health check configured by defaults. Well, that shows something else that's interesting and good to change, because in our Matterbridge configuration I'm simply opening Matterbridge, but I have some I need to pass my configuration file to it. So basically like here, -conf and then the configuration file. App data Matterbridge toml. Yeah, and since I changed my supervisor configuration, I also need to wait for it to upload it. Oh, and of course, silly me, I should also copy my start script into the app, which should be at app, and the app pkg is the general preferred location to it. And I also need to make sure that the start script is actually run, and I'm going to be lazy and just copy that from the Docker file of the statping app. Oh yeah, that's also another nice trick that I tend to forget. So I'm going to set the work dir to app data, which means that if someone executes into the app, he will be in app data, which is my only writable path. And then the command of that script, the command of this Docker image, which is the default program to be executed, is my start script. Oh, and I should also make my start script executable. Let's commit changes again. And my Matterbridge binary is no longer needed. So another make update. So when I'm looking now, I have here my bridge app already. This is the one that was just installed. And it's now updating because in the background I have my, my update process running. I can here in the console look at logs, but since the app is not starting by default, it's not much to see here. but if I now do a make exec, then I'm fresh in the app and can run my scripts to see what happens. So what this script now basically does, oh, there's something, no gateway configured. Okay. And since supervisor D is instructed to restart failing apps, it's trying to start it again. So maybe we'll need to configure something else there. So my test user was simply called Matterbridge and test 1, 2, 3. What else do I need to configure in this file? Add the gateway configuration file. Gateway config basic. Okay, so there may be something that's helpful to have in the default configuration already as well, so it can be easily modified. So, account. So, the in basically it listens for messages here on my account, my Rocket Chat, and the channel. Let's create some basic channels for that. Bridge 1, and let's also invite our Matterbridge user. And another channel. 2. Okay, so I have 2 channels, one called Bridge 1, the other called Bridge 2. So that makes sense, so they're both calls in out. That was one too many. Okay, does that already bring us further when it comes to the first initial startup? It seems. So our Rocket Chat has now, Matterbridge has started. Locking succeeded, it seems. He's listening to one channel, to Bridge 2. Gateway started successfully. Now redirecting messages, which means that if I find my Rocket Chat again, if I now would type something here, Matterbridge would relay it into the second. Okay, so basic functionality is there. That's already good. Now we have to think about how to make it let it expose itself, so we can have maybe a web interface for it. How to make it reproducible, basically. At example gateway. So what can we do in the sense of giving our Matterbridge a web interface? API. An API is usually something that is exposed to the web, right? So that could be something that we can ping in the health check. So I don't want to have it listen only on localhost. I'm not quite sure if it's the best idea to just globally expose the API, but probably good enough for the moment. 4242. So we basically now have two options. We could make it listen on our port 3000 that we already have defined in the Docker file, or we just change it in the Docker file, because that's the default that the program uses. So it's not the worst idea to have that like that. So we now would have a web interface that doesn't really show any, probably doesn't show any meaningful information, but that at least would be available for the public health check of the Cloudron app. So Cloudron would see the app is running and would signal that the app is good to use. See, we could have a token for it to make sure that it's cannot be misused. That's actually a good idea to add. And since we don't want to hard code a secret here, I'm going to copy something over from the other app. Since here I already have something similar, where it creates a random string, and then I can just use the random string instead of hard coding a secret. Yep, that looks about right. Okay, another update. So since we've changed something relatively early in the Docker file, now needs to go to the rebuild again. So it has updated, so we can now exec again into the app. I'm going to rename the file that I created before. So that it recreates the file now with a new default template. It also shows that there's some tuning that I can still do here. So that actually, or at least starts for my use case. Did it work out at least with these randomly generated password? No, it actually didn't. Why did it not? No, of course. Let's do another update first. Okay, app updated. So let's exec into the app again. App pkg. Start. Let's see what happens. No connection method found. And now we have our random token, that's good. Let's put in our right username. My channel number 1 was called Bridge 1. Oh, now I see what I did wrong. It's a demissing. Okay, has entered into running state. Another small test on our bridge 1. Works. That's nice. And that also means that it should now have a port that Matterbridge is listening on. No, so far not, apparently. Why? But why? So it should listen already on port 4242. But the netstat doesn't show it, which means there is likely nothing listening there. Yeah, connection refused. What could be wrong here? Well, I did not say that it started the API, my API thing. Maybe we'll need to include it in our configuration. Maybe that's it. Let's terminate this command to try this. And just that we don't forget it, we're going to add it here as well. Oh, another thing, while I have this file open that I found quite interesting, is that we should probably add a README here, so that whoever opens this app knows what he needs to do with our configuration file, right? Actually, we don't only need to do this if the file doesn't already exist. We should do it always, so that any changes done to this file are also in updated versions. Make sure out on how to configure your own bridge. Oops. So another start. Does it now start our API bridge? Now it says that it started something. Let's check the NetStep output. Oh, no. Now it's running something on port 4242. That's very good. Let's see how it would look with curl. Yeah, so the issue is, so we cannot use it directly. Maybe not the right thing for our health check after all, because if we just do an empty request here, we get a bad request, since it's not the valid endpoint. But we need to get a status 200 back, which means, hey, everything is right, here is what you want to see. So everything then a return code 200 will not make our health check go green in Cloudron. And that's basically because I have that header. All right. Bum, bum. Yeah, so with the header it would give us an 200. Let's comment the token for now. Let's see to restart the service. Interestingly, that would still give us a bad request. Yeah, it seems the API is not the right thing to base our health check on. Let's do a bit of Googling. No, that doesn't help us. Nothing super helpful in here. Oh, there's an API health. Still a bad request though. Missing key. Yeah, but for the health check, it would need to be something that's publicly available, can be publicly queried. So what are the options? So I could, for example, start an Apache that just exposes a success message when querying a certain endpoint. So that could be something. The benefit of that is that I could use the same Apache to serve a README if someone goes to this the website of the bridge, where I could also expose some additional information. In that case, in that sense, Matterbridge is maybe a bit different than other apps because it just doesn't have any web interface of its own. Whereas if you have something like Rocket Chat or a website in general, that always brings its own web interface for which you can simply ping to and make sure it's available. Yeah, let's do the Apache thing. And I've done something similar back then already in the Cloudron app. Is that code still in here? Yeah. So we have a basic setup here. We don't need to have this authentication part since there's nothing much to proxy. Well, we could proxy the configured API, and then we have here our health check, where we just rewrite everything to give a green return. That's not too bad. Code Apache conf. So we'll make it run on port 8000. Document root is our app code, which means that we maybe want to have something like an index HTML. Very basic. That we could later extend with some additional information. And then we're going to plant an app code. Like I said, we're not doing this authentication bit, so I'm going to remove it from here. We also don't want to proxy something, we just want to serve whatever is at that location. Yeah, and for that we now need to modify our file. Copy Apache conf to etc Apache. What's a good location? Where did I copy it? In here? Oh yeah, there's a bit of more to it. Configure Apache. It's also something that we should do above the downloading of the Matterbridge file, because this is less likely to change than this. So everything that very infrequently changes should be at the top of the Docker file, and everything that frequently changes should be at the bottom. So this is now listening on port 8000, so we'll also need to... Oh yeah, and we should... I deleted it, but I should add it back. Because we want to proxy it to the API, right? So let's get this bit here back. 2, and then we could actually make it not listen globally, but just listen listen on the local host, on the local host IP address. Token back in. What else can we copy? Oh, we're starting Apache bit. That's also something that we can copy. And now I still need to update the port, so it's 8000 now, right? So that's what I configured. And our health check is listening, or is trying to access /health check. And now, so I already in the terminal, I uninstalled the app, and now I'm going to be brave. Oh, no, not update. I want to build first. I'm going to install it directly without the debug mode, which means that the start script is directly executed. And since we're starting Apache now in the startup script, and Apache is configured to listen on the right port and to respond with a status code of 200 to the /health check endpoint. Our health check should go green, which means the app starts, but would still need to be modified, need to be executed into, so you can actually use your bridge. Make install. And so the time flies. So we're already online for more than an hour. We have it basically running, right? Waiting for health check. So for this waiting for health check, something that we could do is if we go for, could go into the app and say here in the console, we could also get our logs from here, and then we see what it's doing. Source not found. Okay, so I still need to change something in our configuration. Doesn't. Let's terminate this here. So I screwed something up and therefore it did not start. No, because I used the standard shell and not bash, which means that I cannot use source. Well, Apache should have started nonetheless. Make updates. And while the update runs, Apache. Oh, I also did not add my file. Copy index HTML app code. But I also configured a reverse proxy, so the index HTML is actually not shown. Yeah, doesn't make sense then. Let's delete it again. Use Apache for health check. And yay, health check did go green, app is updated, our Matterbridge is running, gives a forbidden, but that's okay. The important part is, well, I cannot access the API on its own. The important part is that it gives a green when doing this. And here it says okay, and therefore the health check goes green and everything is good. So I now have my README file here that I can use from the terminal, but it could also do the same. So if I, like I said, we have here our console. The part where I've clicked through in the past is here the logs part, which gives my startup. But we can also do here is open the terminal from here, which will basically do the same as my make exec, and I can now open my README or could modify my configuration Matterbridge. But I like it from the terminal more, so I'm going to do it from here. So I need to specify my server again and my user. And that's actually something that reminds me of something that I should add here to this to the README file that we're going to create. After updating Bridge TOML, you can restart Matterbridge by running, and then supervisor CTL restart Matterbridge. Bridge is such a difficult word. Yeah, it was not running before since it could not log in, but now it should. So we can see that here again with the logs terminal. Startup succeeded. And if I go back here into my Bridge 1 channel, I can do another test, which will immediately relay that. Yeah. So what do we have already? So we have a Matterbridge binary. It starts, it's an app. You need to do your manual configuration. That's one of the downsides. So if you're watching, that you can really, so the app installation process is kind of basic in Cloudron in the sense that you can select an app from the App Center. But it depends on the app having its own UI for configuration. So you cannot say, I want to pass a certain parameter to it. That's actually, yeah. So if you want to, so you cannot from the Cloudron UI could not say, oh, I want to add this setting and then pass it to the container so that the startup script could pick it up and configure it. That's sadly not possible. Which means that you can, yeah, basically could add a README to the app saying, hey, if you have it installed, make sure to open the terminal of the app and update your configuration yourself, which is fine for, I think, depending on the app use case. And a lot of other applications, like for example Nextcloud, OwnCloud, Rocket Chat, I mean, you could see it here, right? So they have their own administration panel where you could in the end configure these kind of things. Yeah, so what else could we do and have a look at? What are the things that we could do easier and better? Well, the one thing that we could do is that we could actually bring that index file back and have only that's the one part that gave the permission denied before. We could actually bring that index file back and only proxy the API location to the backend. That's maybe not a bad idea. So the API is always prefixed /API. I did not delete it. That's or did I? I still had it just open, right? So again. Mm-hmm. Maybe I should also link to the API documentation. That seems like a good choice. So very basic index page. Let's commit it first. Okay. So that means we should now. We get a forbidden. Why do we get a forbidden? Can Apache simply not get to that file? Let's see if that makes it any better. Hey, now the page works. Yeah. Oh, I did put the wrong port here in the expose, right? So we're... Oh, Apache is listening on port 8000, but I put 8080 into the expose. We also don't need... probably... No, we definitely do not need the LDAP authentication module here. Rewrite neither, but it may come in handy. Yeah. I do have the feeling that, yeah, for a very basic app, I think we have all the pieces together at the moment. I'm sure there is, yeah, depending on how exactly you want to use Matterbridge, there could be some other things that could be integrated, but it's running now, and it's from my automatic start. If I write something in one chat, then it also successfully redirects it into the other one. Oh yeah, let's for a small tweak here in the Docker file, I'm going to be lazy again, and I'm going to copy it from somewhere else. So that's the one secret, right? With when it comes, no, let's copy it from the StatPing app. You don't need to know everything from the top of your head, but you also always need to know where you can copy it from. Very, very important lesson. So we're going to use an arc for that. Matterbridge version 5, and then we can simply think, no need to quote it, make builds, see if it works as we want it to. Looks good. Actually, let's terminate that and let's try out the first run experience. So I'm going to uninstall the app and I'm going to install it. So before it wasn't there, now it's installing. Can see in the logs what it's doing, but we know already that on the first try it will fail. So Matterbridge entered fail state. Our health check is still green, so we can still connect into the app and fix our initial configuration, because yeah, there's no real point in adding any public system in here. So we need to connect into the app and need to modify our Matterbridge configuration. so that it actually points to our desired chat platform, and that it uses the credentials of the user that we have. And that it connects to the right channels. And then that's something that I put here into the README as well. Oh, I should, well, that's good to see. I should fix the quoting so that it actually does not execute it. That's also something that's a quick and easy fix. Let's do it like that. Make updates. So now it probably says it, but we don't need to run the command since restarting, updating the app did restart Matterbridge as well. And now we see in the logging that it's started up, it connected to my own Rocket Chat installation, and to again do the check test, and it forwards that. Yeah. I think then, yeah, we're still a bit earlier, faster than those 2 hours that I originally time boxed this in, but the app is in a basic state. It's working. And yeah, if there are no questions, I would say let's end this fixed quoting. Let's end the session here for now. If you have any further questions, just leave them in the comments below. Like I said, there is a public Git repository, which is at git.cloudron.io. Just search for Matterbridge there. There you will find the code of this repository. So if you run into any problems starting up that app, just create an issue on that in that repository, and I will get back to you. And yeah, I hope let's do the full screen transition again. I hope it was quite interesting for you. We had a few viewers. That's fine. Maybe if you like this kind of format, then well, I'll do some more of these. It was kind of interesting to normally the thoughts that you internalize and while building and scripting something to speak them out. But that's it. I hope you enjoyed it, learned something. Maybe the only thing that just need is the right app that you want to package yourself. But I hope that I provided you with a bit of an insights and some basic building blocks to make you succeed there. And maybe see you the next time, and have a nice rest of your weekend. Bye.